Okay, this is just a 4 for warm-up, just to practice some of the skills that you'd find in section 6.3 of the grade A textbook on multiplying fractions by fractions. The first practice question says draw 3/4 multiplied by 3/4. Now the first thing you have to be able to do is to interpret as being 3/4 of 3/4. Okay, so 3/4 of 3/4. So I'm going to draw 3/4 to start. There's a quarter. There's another quarter. There's 3/4. And I am going to get to keep 3/4 of the 3/4. So I'm going to cut this into quarters. And that's 1/4, 2/4. That's 3/4 of the 3/4. So it used to be cut into 4 parts. Now it's cut into 16 parts. And I get to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 sixteenths of that. So it used to be 75% of a chocolate bar or a piece of pizza, and I used to keep 9/16 of it. So 9/16 is how you would interpret using a drawing. The second part, which is your equation, started off with this black fraction right here. And that black fraction was 2/3. And I am keeping 3/4 of the 2/3 in the black fraction. So I am check marking 3/4 of the 2/3, which means that is your equation, which means your answer would be 6/12, which means in lowest terms, your answer would be a half. So if you get to keep 3/4 of 2/3 of a pizza, you get to have half of a pizza. The next question says solve by any means necessary. So of course, the Voldemort method is simply to multiply your numerators together, multiply your denominators together to get the answer of 3/8. That's the simplest way to do it. Multiplication just requires multiplication of numerators, multiplication of denominators. If your answer can be reduced to lowest terms, do so. But 3/8 is lowest terms, so that is your answer. But the last question says 21 32nds multiplied by 2/7. Now you could multiply 21 by 2, and you could multiply 32 by 7, and you would get 42 out of 210, 224. But at this stage, you would realize, oh my God, 42 out of 224 is giving me a headache. Both divisible by 2, I can divide by 2, and then I can divide by something else after that, and then something else by that. I'd have to reduce that to lowest terms, which would take probably forever. But what we learned is, if I was to swap the numerators, I'm going to erase this just for a second. 42 over 224. If I was to swap 2 and 21 and put the 2 over here and the 21 over here, I would still end up with 42 at the top, and I would still end up with 224 on the bottom. So swapping those numerators would not affect it. But if I had 2 over 32, I would probably start with 1 over 16. And if I had 21 over 7, I would start with 3 over 1. And when I multiply that out, I'd have 1 times 3 is 3. And 16 times 1 is 16. This fraction, 42 over 224, in lowest terms, is actually 3/16. So, here's what you would do, I think. Rather than actually physically swap the numerators, so rather than put the 2 over there and the 21 there, I'm going to pretend the 22 and the 7 were over, or 21 and 7 were over each other. I'm going to make that 3 over 1. I'm going to pretend the 2 was over the 32 and reduce that down to 1 over 16. And my answer would be 3 over 16. So let's just see for a second if I do reduce 42 over 224, 42 over 224. Let's see if we do get 1/16. I'm going to divide it by 2 first to get 21 over 112, right? 112. Uh-oh, is that right? What's divisible into both of these? Uh-oh. What's hard now? What's divisible into 21 and 112? Does anyone know what number is? It's easy, because we know already. 7. Not 7. 3 and 7 are both. No, 3 is not, because 1 plus 1 plus 2 is not. The answer is they're both divisible by 21. Isn't it? Did I make a mistake there? 424. Did I make a mistake on the multiplication in the last one? I think I did. 21, 2, 20. It's 32 times 7. Did I make a mistake here? Oh, hold on then. So if I go 112 divided by 21, it doesn't work? No, it doesn't. So what I made a mistake somewhere. Where was that? My fault. It's divisible by 7, not by my fault. Divisible by 7. So 21 divided by 7 is 3, and 112 divided by 7 is 16. There we go. I was thinking it was 1/16, not 3/16.